So, everybody, sorry for the technical difficulty, but we are back on track now. And I will just wait to see if this works. Okay, just checking if everybody can hear me now. Okay, just checking if everybody can hear me now. So I believe there was some technical difficulties, but if you have refreshed the page, you should be able to hear me. Um, I'm just making sure that everybody else can also hear me. Let me refresh the page to make sure. So if you can hear me, can you please, everyone, can you just go ahead and just drop me a little message on the little messaging board down there, and then we can get started. Perfect. Lovely. Okay. Well, thank you so much, I have to say, for keeping, bearing with me while this was, I was trying to get this going. As you can imagine, it was a bit of a stressful situation setting this up. But I have to say, let me turn this off. There we go. So, firstly, welcome to Dental Photography Made Simple. I run a few courses for dentinal tubules, and also I took part in Pankey's Institute in Miami, which I've got a few colleagues that are listening to us all the way from America. I think we have Hamptons, and we have Carolina, we have Texas, Houston as well. People from there also listening. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for listening. So we're going to go ahead and get things started. Right. Okie dokes. Now everyone's good to go. Okay, so today we're going to talk to you very simply about dental photography made simple. As promised, today I'm going to talk to you about a few things. One will be the simple settings for how to set up your camera. Then we're going to go into advanced settings, and then I'm going to talk to you about some tips and tricks, my workflow, and how you can alter your workflow to make sure you can actually go ahead and achieve the best thing you can. I still am getting a few messages from people saying that they can't actually see it. Can I just before starting, can I just one more round of people saying if they can actually hear me okay? If you can, please let me know. Just drop a few messages down there if you guys can all hear me. I've told people to refresh. Great. Okay, so I'm guessing getting some yeses. Just to let you know, this video is a little bit delayed to actual exact live time. Yeah, so your messages are coming through a little bit later after I speak. Okay, so let's get started. So, just to give you a little understanding, if there's anything you miss on the settings, I do have a blog on my website, so you can go onto it. It talks about your manual setup, it talks about your basic and your advanced setup, so you can always go ahead and just read up on a few things. But just to let you know, after you guys this is done, okay, anyone who subscribed, which I have all your emails, a file will be sent out after this automatically. A file will be sent out, and they have two things. One, it has a list of items you need to click to go to, meaning that you can click on the items, the DSLR, the flashes, the studio strobes, the owl brackets. You can go to the website and purchase them from all the websites. They're on Amazon, so it's not actually mine, so don't worry about that. Not by any means, I'm not selling anything here. Secondly, what we're going to do, I'm also going to give you a little breakdown sheet of all the settings so you can print it out and keep it in your surgeries. I'm sure that will help everybody out there. So, as I mentioned, yes, I teach my photography course for dentinal tubules. As you can see, there's a little, if you can see my mouse, no you can't. So there's a little logo down there, and I'm a proud member of the Pankey's Institute in America because they've contributed to so much of my success, I'd like to call it. So yeah. So today, let's start. We're going to start by talking about the uses. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and insult your intelligence on uses, so I'll be very brief on that side of things. But we're going to spend some time on equipment, we're going to spend some time on settings, and we're going to spend some time on views and how to achieve the views, okay? And how to position yourself, how to get those things. And then we're going to talk about some troubleshooting. Troubleshooting is huge. A lot of people have questions, so we're going to go into that. Then we'll spend some time going to artistic shots. Now, I'm a kind of person who doesn't want to waffle around, so if I am straight to the point, I do apologize, but I believe that everyone's time is precious, so I'd like to be as straight to the point as possible. So, uses, I'm not going to dwell too much into this. We all know that for the following reasons: medical, communication, treatment planning, portfolio self-improvement, marketing, photography is important. So how important is it? So I'm not going to spend too much time into this. It's a time to be positive in these times. Anything we do, we should be backing up. Now, this means pictures, okay? Now, this should be the last reason why I take pictures. There's so many more reasons for pictures. This is the last reason why I should be taking the pictures. It will be covered. If you do what I'm telling you, I promise you this will be covered. So if you ever get pulled up for anything, photos are there, all in touch, and you're good to go. Patient communication is a huge factor. And essentially, a lot of dentists, look, we spend hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, thousands of pounds, God knows, in like courses that we go on just to perfect ourselves. And all the patient hears is not the way that you carve out you place your composites or the way you do them. They don't just, there's all this words to them. If you can show them with pictures, it builds so much value. And we're going to go at the end into communication a little bit for you. But not just the patient, you need communication for your lab. Again, I'm not going to bore you with the lab communication. I'm just going to go a little bit into it. But to get the right kind of outcome or trying to go close to the outcome, you need to send at least a few things. Here's my full recommendation. Feel free to screenshot these. Feel free to go ahead and take these if you want to show it to other people. But everybody knows that you should take a smile picture before you start anything. When you start a smile picture, just get the patient to say the letter E, very gently. just say E and continue. And they don't have to say it as long as they hold the lip. That pulls him into near enough to a nice little smile picture. Then you want a close-up picture if you're working on crowns, bridges, single tooth, etc. Okay, you want to get a close-up picture of a magnification 1:1, which will go into that of the adjacent tooth for your lab technician. Obviously, we want a shade guide, including stump, okay, and a texture shot. I'm going to go all into those in a second. But just to give you an idea, okay, I'm just going to go into this. This was taken with studio strobes. Now, I've got one of my buddies, Josh, he's listening. I've sent him a link to the studio strobes, and the setup for the studio strobes were about just north of 120 pounds. And that's literally it for the actual the flashes and stuff itself, okay. So, this is a case of a single tooth crown. Here's the pictures that I sent to the lab. All these I get sent to the lab. Okay, these are untouched. Smile picture, retracted picture. I realized I don't quite like that one because it didn't show anything. So I took his shade guide. Now I've noticed, I put this on purpose, notice that this picture is completely valueless. There's no value in this whatsoever. Absolute no value in this whatsoever because you cannot see the shade tabs of what they are. So I retook them. There we go. Much better. So now you have an understanding of, this is a Vita, normal Vita shade guide. Okay, this is very simple. I didn't go into the 3D Vita shade guide. So essentially, take a shade guide. You take the crown off. I take multiple shots. I recommend at least 4, but I do loads. Retract it just to see what the stump looks like. Stump shade, so we can have a look at what's underneath them. Okay. And once you have cleaned it up, you get the crown back, and the crown fits like this. Now, excuse the gingiva, this was exactly as we placed it in. Okay, the gingiva healed. As you can see, look, we even use the black contrast just so you can get the edges. What do I mean from the texture shot? Here's what I mean by the texture shot. So after you got your normal smile, this is the texture shot. I will show you all how to take these kind of pictures. You can even take them with ring flash. I promise you at the end of this, there is some diagrams of the positioning where you can actually find out how to place your flash and your camera to get these kind of shots. What's important is that this upper left one, or I believe in the States they call it number 21. No, hang on, that's wrong. Sorry, 9, tooth number 9. You have your grooves, and that's natural tooth. So we wanted tooth number 8, or upper right one, to have similar grooves. And it's a difficult case to do, but it is very useful. Okay, we're going to go into treatment planning in Smile Design. I'm not going to bore you on this. It's a complete different webinar. So we're going to, you need definitely photographs, whether it's the E, the retracted, the smiling, the full face shot. We'll go into that. And if you want to know what views, if you wanted to get accredited for anything, this is the views that we need. Okay, 14 shots of views. And I'm going to tell you again my workflow on how to get these with obviously ring flash. If you want the file's down there. There's you can take a screenshot and download the PDF file absolutely free. Or you can simply Google it, because nowadays everyone's a internet genius. So we want to kind of get consistency between our shots, okay? Whatever treatment we're going to do, whether it's veneer work, simple work, or if we wanted to show these off to people with the full face shots. All these things we can achieve having just a basic setup, okay? And you don't need to spend an arm and a leg. However, I will let you know, quality isn't exactly cheap sometimes, okay? But these are the compelling storytellers for your patients. If you want the people to know what you can do for them, this is the compelling storytellers, okay? Another reason, portfolio. It's huge. Portfolio is huge. Now, why? Well, 2 reasons. When you go for a job, people ask you what you're capable of. Now, believe it or not, when I first started, I used Photoshop to have these files so I can send around. But now if you have Instagram, and there is a webinar we're going to run hopefully on Friday on how to market yourself on Instagram with no money of marketing involved. It's massively used now. I use majority of things that I do. It goes on Instagram. Why? Because patients nowadays treat Instagram as the yellow pages. They go on there, they have a look, they listen to people. Okay, they're all on there. All right, so it's great for portfolio. And it's massively great for self-improvement. I am going to, again, on Friday, I'm going to release a webinar for Friday, and that is part of marketing and how to create your future. And one thing I'm going to talk to you about, this thing called the 10 steps to progressive mastery of your skill. It's written down from all the study groups, from all the courses I've been to, from America to States to Europe. I've compiled them down to 10 steps, and I've talked to my mentors. I've talked to people who taught me originally. I talked to people who are very successful, and I came up with 10 steps on how to improve yourself. And I will give that up on Friday. But it's great. Self-improvement is part of it. Okay, how to self-improve, that 10-step plan will show you. This is the early stage of my career, okay? Just to find out if you want to, and again, we're not going to go into clinical side of things. This is just pictures and photography. This was just a simple diastema closure. So just loads of pictures, it helps you. Why? It helps you notice things that you don't see with your eyes, even with the loops. Okay, you can desaturate the photos. We can oversaturate the photos to find out what the contrast of colors of the composite. The proportions are off. I get it, but believe you and me, this was done maybe about 6 months into my career as a dentist. Okay, and the reason, you can tell the margins of the composite are not great. But what pictures did was, when I took the pictures, I look at them, I realized my composite wasn't great at this point. So I laid the patient back down and I carried on. And when I finished polishing, I took another picture, and this is the polished composite. Sorry, there's some water on there, but you can see how much you can self-improve. You miss so much with the naked eye. Your eyes can deceive you, especially if you're spending so much time with the patient. So sometimes the picture is a great tool to go back and realize, I did something wrong, and I can actually make it better at this point. And last but not least, marketing. Because without marketing, as dentists, guess what? We are not going to spread the word of what we do. Okay, this is off my Instagram, and it's patients go to it. Patients go to it and they ask me questions. We get a lot of inquiry. And I don't know if you ever want to listen to Robbie Hughes. He was talking about creating leads and making them warm. Well, one of the things I'm going to go dive deep into on Friday as well is about how to engage your inquiries and clients, especially on Instagram. And we do that quite regularly on here. And pictures are a massive thing. When someone's talking to you, making an inquiry on your Instagram saying what you can do, wouldn't it be wonderful if you can actually tag one of your own pictures into that conversation on Instagram? And they're like, oh, wow, this is your work. Yeah, I completely forgot, And it's like, oh, this is what the final would look like. That is a massive, massive converter. And also, if you wanted to use it for your website, I 100% recommend people make your own website, even as an associate. I am an associate and I have my own website. Why? Because it allows me to reach more clients. And let's be honest, if you spend time to actually getting to go and viewing what kind of patients will come to you, if you spend more time and more effort on your actual equipment and the contents and the quality of them, you attract higher quality patients. So it's very great on that side of things. You look more professional. So the equipments, again, I am not going to insult your intelligence too much because this is not just about the equipments. However, I will cover them very briefly. First things first, we need a DSLR camera. Now, I'm not by no means I'm getting paid for this, okay? But I like Canon. It's easy to use. But I also have a Nikon, so I can't be a hypocrite. I use both, but my go-to is definitely Canon. You can pretty much use any body out there, to be honest with you. The DSLR body is not the most important thing. They do have shutter counts, meaning that if you're going to go for second-hand, make sure you check out the shutter count. The higher the shutter count, the less effective the camera can be, but it's still, this on a rule of thumb, if they get anything above 30,000 shutter counts, the camera will start to lose some quality. So if you want to invest in a new one, good on you, and it's going to stay with you for the next 10 to 15 years, unless you're a tech freak like me and you want to evolve every now and then. The next thing we need, okay, is our lens. Now, a macro lens, it goes without saying. Now, what value? If you're using a Canon, I believe is 100. If you are using a Nikon, I believe is 90 millimeters. And I believe if you're using a Signum, it's 105 millimeters macro lens from top of memory. Why do we need this? Because it's, again, to do with the magnification. It's macro because you can zoom in quite, you can zoom in a lot and actually catch a lot of texture. Now, the type of flashes we have. We all know there's ring flashes. Why did I choose this picture in particular is because I had the Canon ring flash that cost 350 pounds, and I returned it once I found this. It's called KNF, K unsigned F concept ring flash, and it's about £100, and it's just as powerful. And if I do need to use it, I can take it out of my my utility bag, and boom, it does the job just as good, just as powerful. Okay, and you'll get a link to this anyways. Twin flash. Twin flash is my go-to. Okay, well, half of my go-to, but twin flash I would 100% recommend if you're doing anything cosmetic. Anterior work, twin flash. Why? You'll see when I show you some experimentation with the lighting that I've done with these flashes. You'll see the difference. Your work will also look nicer. It's not a cheat. It's just the way the light bounces off your teeth and work. Okay, so it actually makes them look a bit nicer. And also you have studio flashes. This is genuinely, again, the studio flash that I use. And it costs no more than 150 or 100, between 120 or 150. If you have any question, Josh Verdi, one of my friends and colleagues, sent him a link, and he got these, and he can vouch for how powerful they are. I'll show you some pictures that I used with these, and you can actually tell. The accessories, right? If you use any cosmetic work, get yourself some black contrasters. You can get them from Amazon, you can get them from eBay, you can get them from Argos, and they're all autoclavable and sterilizable. Now, my only thing is that if you're going to get something, okay, I have the flexible one. Mine's from Style Italiano, but honestly, the only reason why I got it is flexible because I can bend it. You have some fixed ones, okay, you can get the fixed ones, but you may limit your movement a little bit. Honestly, the mouth is pretty flexible as it is, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. So if you want to get the tips, you want to get the angles, this is what the contraster does. There's no Photoshop to it. You just stuck it inside a patient's mouth and you take a picture, okay? Just instead of, this shows the edges much better. Sorry, everyone back. This shows the edges much, much better. And, your technician can work with that, okay? So if you replace in the front crown, the edges look nice. And again, you can see the incisal ledge morphology. Cheek retractors, okay, everybody knows we need to have those. Why? Well, we need to see the teeth. Keeps the lips out the way. Not going to dwell too much into that. And the mirrors. Now, in this thing, you can screenshot this, okay? Get yourself a range of mirrors. Okay, it's going to be a little bit expensive. I get that. But you have to think about this as an investment. When it comes to the communication side of this lecture, later on, okay, you'll realize how this small investment paid itself back quadruple, 10 times fold, okay? Tenfold. Because having these instruments in place, okay, you're narrow for the buccal shot, the weird shaped one is a quadrant occlusal shot, so the larger or the smaller full arch occlusal shot mirrors. It allows you to capture pictures and talk to your patient. You have to think that these are all the instruments to a comprehensive dentist. If you don't have these, okay, certainly photography, people may not, I'm not going to say people may not see you as a comprehensive dentist, but compare you to another dentist who does the same thing as you, but he has the setup and he shows the patients this. I guarantee you they will go to that person before they will come to you. Right. Okay. One tip I always get to tell people is that your nurse can use a 3-in-1 tip. Okay. Now some people use the vets. If you go to Amazon, if you got pets, there is some blankets, electric blankets you can buy. It's quite cheap. There is a baby, there's a baby milk warmer kind of thing you can use. That's pretty cheap. You can dip your mirror in there, or the hot water. But honestly, for me, I'm quite minimal. I don't want things on my side of my cupboard all the time when I'm working. So I've got a nurse and assistant, and she's a godsend. So I use her all the time. So she does the majority of this for me. And to be honest with you, truth be told, now I do this. Okay, I do the 3-in-1 tip. Why? Because she does my photography, because I've taught her. And this is the key to becoming successful. I'll talk to you about that in a second. Right. I hope everybody is ready. That was the little warm up to it, and this is where it gets to the nitty and gritty. If you wanted to, please feel free, and I will literally, I've got a timer running right now. I will give 3 or 4 minutes. No, actually, how about 2 minutes? I'll just give 2 minutes if you've got your cameras with you to grab your cameras so you can kind of get yourself familiarized with this, okay? So I've already talked 15 seconds of it. I'll leave you for 1 minute 45. And if you want to get your cameras, get your cameras. If don't, that's fine. Screenshot these and you can always do this later on, all right? So 1.5 minutes. I'll let you guys go and get your cameras. By the way, I will have to tell you that this is not recorded. And so I hope whoever has joined along so far is having a good time. And I wish it was recorded, but it's all live, I'm afraid. Right, okay, next. Okay, so if you have a camera with you, perfect. If you haven't had your camera with you, that's okay. Screenshot it and we can come back to this. First things first, you're gonna pop it on, manual settings. Everyone's seen this in the camera, whether it's Nikon or Canon. Put it on manual, because if you have on any of the settings, you can't change them. Manual means you can change everything. It's in your hands. Then first thing we're gonna change and talk about is the f-stop, the focus point. The f-stop, the focal point. This is the thing that makes sure you make sure pictures nice and crisp. I'm making this as simple as possible. I'm not going to dwell into how it works. You don't need to. All I'm telling you is the higher the f-stop, the more crisp the picture. Okay. Now, this is one of our dental assistants, Amy. So I took a picture so you guys can see. Again, it's done with the studio light. Okay, not the ring flash. But for F, I always drop it on F11. Why? Because I find that actually that's a sweet spot to hit just a nice amount of sharpness for a full face, but not too sharp that it doesn't show too much of the imperfection, shall I say. This f-stop is for ring and twin flash only. Let me make one thing very clear. If you buy a studio strobe light, okay, you do not need to change the f-stop at all. You only need the final f-stop, which I'm going to tell you. Let me repeat. If you have the studio strobe light, you do not need any other f-stops. But if you don't, ring flash and twin flash, F11 is the one you go to. If you want close-ups like these are again my pictures. If you want close-ups like these, I would always go to F18 because it gives a nice, again, level of crispness, but also the same level of softness that makes things a little bit better. Intraorals, anything between F22 to 32. Okay, I'm just showing you just a couple of things I've seen when I walk through the door, and essentially how it happens is, and what how it happens with these kind of things is I always take pictures to show them where the food's getting stuck, where the composite looks like, where the amalgam is, where the fracture is in that mesial ridge of that premolar, first premolar, what the crown looks like, etc. But the reason why it's F22 and F32 is because some cameras, okay, don't go up to 32. If it doesn't, keep on F22, F25, that's crisp enough. If your camera goes further up, then go further up. Now, ISO. ISO is very simple. How much light, okay, how much that lens is, how much light is exposed to that lens, okay? We want to limit that. We want to keep ISO to 100, as I've explained there. Keep it on 100 and don't change it. You don't need to. You don't need to touch that whatsoever. Once it's on ISO 100, leave it as it is. Don't ever touch it. That's the most optimal amount of light we want it to hit without it overexposing the film. Next thing is the shutter speed. Shutter speed, okay, when you on default, your shutter speed will probably be around that, 1/500. Some people different. But when you're on manual, you're going to change that, okay? You're going to change the shutter speed to 1/200. That's how quick this little curtain closes off in front of your lens, stopping the light hitting it, okay? So if you, let's see, if you've had a coffee first thing in the morning and about lunchtime your hands are getting a bit shaky, you go take a picture. When you have a quicker shutter speed, like 1/200, the chances are it will reduce any blurriness and shakiness in the picture because it captures that so quickly. Magnification, There are a few magnifications I need to know about. 1:1, okay, is the closest you can go to, okay. 1:1, essentially, you can concentrate on one tooth, and I'll show you the difference in a second. 1:1.5, 1:3, and infinity. Where do you get the magnification? Well, it's on the lens. There's a little window, and usually it's the yellow. It's the little yellow sign that you see. That little dash line on the outside of the thing, that's where the one is, the first one dot dot. And wherever you line it up with the yellow, that's the second part. So 1, 2, 1, or 1 to 1.5. Now, based on these, to get these kind of things, okay, on this, there is a little magnification there. So if you can have a look at the second picture, anterior smile view, 1 to 3 if you wanted to get a smile picture, and so forth, okay? Now, we're gonna go into advanced settings. I know I'm quite frank and to the point, so if you ever want to ask me any questions at the end, I will give you some time to ask me questions and I can talk to you about them. But if you got the basic settings sorted, well done. That's all you need. But I researched more and more, and I wanted to make sure that I can give you the good, more concise message when it comes to pictures. Now I have Dr. Martin. He's one of my he's a good friend and colleague, and he practices in the States, and I met him through Pankeys. We had a very interesting discussion about this. A lot of dentists know the basics, but some people don't know the advanced settings. Majority do, some don't. So allow me to show you the advanced settings. First thing we're going to talk about advanced settings is center weighted, okay? This is how the camera measures the light, okay? Center weighted is ideal for macro shots. Why? It shows the center of frame much more clearly and sharper. The camera configures this for you, and it helps you. If someone's going to give you a helping hand, take it. And the camera's doing this. The center weight, okay, usually you can see there on the manuals, you can find it around those areas. If not, go into the menu and go into metering mode on the settings, and you can find center weighted. Select center weighted. Obviously, the white balance everybody knows. Please change it from AWB, which is auto white balance, to flash. Why? We only want to capture the flash. That's all we want. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Flash. Image type, okay, this is very easy. RAW and JPEG large. A lot of people just work in JPEG. JPEG is great. It's because it's a large picture and you can edit them if you want to, crop them if you wanted to, blah, 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 all those things. And I have seen some posts of people editing them, okay. But if you wanted to get published RAW, or if it's medical legal, they want RAW. RAW can be edited, but it leaves a paper trail, so you can always undo it. Doesn't matter what you do, they can find that original picture. Doesn't matter what it is, okay? So it's good to have that. Disclaimer, RAW pictures are about 20 megabytes each, whereas JPEG is about 3 to 4. So make sure you buy yourself a little hard drive. They're about 50 quid for a terabyte, and you can back up your pictures on there. Image type that you can find, usually, it's that kind of signal. Now, sRGB, sorry. This is the picture mode. If you go into your manuals, find a picture mode. It's either Adobe or sRGB. Excuse me. sRGB, it pretty much sets the vividness, okay, and the natural color representation of the picture. We want to make sure it's sRGB so you can get as much to real life picture coming through and being recorded. Have you ever took a picture, maybe outside, and the red doesn't seem as red on the picture as it is in real life? This is why. There's also another reason, which is a picture control. If you go to the manuals, please go and change picture control. Picture control, essentially, you want to change for Nikon to Vivid, and for Canon, you want to change them to Faithful. Why? It represents as close as possible to reality pictures, to reality colors. This eliminates the whole conundrum of, oh, that flower looked red in real life. On my picture, it doesn't look as vibrant. It does now. When they change the picture control to Vivid for Nikon or Faithful for Canon, it helps. Once you've done this, you don't need to change anything else. The only thing you need to change, if you have ring flash or twin flash, is the f-stop. Nothing else. So, troubleshooting. A lot of people have questions that send me, either it's WhatsApp, email, etc., or Instagram or Facebook. One of the most common question I get asked is, my pictures just seem to get darker and darker and darker. Please, get yourself some rechargeable batteries and make sure you charge them every night, because the chances are two things. One, the battery is running low, or two, your ring flash is not fully secured on top of your DSLR camera. Okay, so with a ring flash or where the flash joins your camera, make sure it's secured and make sure your batteries are fully stocked up. Majority of the times, this is what I get. Now, if you have studio strobes or wireless one, the next problem is actually the syncing, meaning that people ask me, I take a picture, my flash goes off, but the picture is black. That's because the ring flash or the twin flash or even a studio strobe, if it's wireless, it sets off or it shoots at a different type on which the picture is taken. So either it goes off too quick or it goes off too slow. What you need to do is very, very, very simple. You need to return it and get a new one, because that's a manufacturer fault. Okay, so these are the first common questions I get asked a lot. Now, to go into tips and tricks and artistic shots, we're gonna drop into the tips. First things first, keep your camera on the side and not in the cupboard. Right, everyone's guilty of this. I'm guilty of this. I've done this for a long time until I stopped, okay? And essentially, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're not bothered to get the camera out, what else are you not bothered to do? What other things are you skipping in your treatments? What are the things that you skipping in your steps of the examination? So I like to believe that actually the person who keeps the camera on the side is the kind of person that doesn't skip any steps. It's just a little vague thing. It's not necessarily true all the time. But if it's out on the side, you are more likely to grab it and take a picture, even if it is just for the sake of it. Don't keep it in your cupboard. If you kept it in your cupboard, you've wasted your money. Have a workflow. This is important. All my friends, all my colleagues, anyone who knows me, I talk about this. There's one book that I talk about. It's called The E-Myth. If you like personal development, read The E-Myth, and it talks about how you need to have a system and a workflow and follow it. I will tell you my workflow in a second, but you should have a workflow. You can copy mine, you can change yours. I've got a secret in there that I'm going to tell you guys, and the reason why it's called a secret is because I wanted people to be here to listen to me say it. But I'm going to show you that in a second. Number 3, make time to take pictures often. If you don't create the time, you are not going to improve. You've taken the time out of your life to study. You've taken the time out of your life to listen to me talk about photography, which I really appreciate. So now that you're here, now that you got time off in these unfortunate times, okay, make the best out of it. Learn about the things you can change, and one of them is making the time to do the things that matter to you. Photography helps you become a better clinician. Photography helps you talk to the patients better. Photography helps you to convert, okay? And all these that you make the time to do will help you in your career becoming a better dentist, more comprehensive dentist, joyful, fruitful, successful dentist. Take the picture of the patient's name before clinical notes, before clinical shots. Why? Let me tell everybody, everyone that I know is legit. I've got my WhatsApp group on the side of my friends, and they're going off saying that this one is a good one. Take the pictures of a patient's name before clinical shots. The amount of time we take pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures, at the end of the day, we're like, oh, shoot, whose mouth was this? Take the picture of their name before clinical shots, because you remember. Tip number 5, I cannot stress this enough, buy rechargeable batteries. If your flash doesn't need batteries, is actually chargeable itself, perfect. If not, buy rechargeable batteries. You will save money and time and effort, and most of all, you will save headaches. Last but not least, dedicate 5 minutes at the end of the day to store these. Like I told you, I've got a few hard drives. They're about £50 for 1 terabyte. You can get them from, again, Amazon, Argos, eBay, etc. But take the time to store them. Get into the habits. Massive fan of Richard Porter. Okay, I think he's an absolute brilliant speaker, and he talks about this book called The Atomic Habits. I also like to mention a book called The Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things is you need to make these habits. Okay, you need to make whatever you do a habit. So make a habit of storing these at the end of the day, 5 minutes. Make it a ritual. I promise you, it will save you so much headache, so much reduced stress. It will help you a lot. Now, okay, so I talked to you about my workflow. I promised my workflow, and here is my workflow. So, new patient exam. They come in. This is going to be, by the way, covered on Wednesday. I'm going to be releasing a webinar on how to create the best patient journey, most ideal patient journey to improve your conversion. I'm going to show you some numbers on there as well. But essentially, this is a very tip, okay, that's going to be, it is a little tip, sorry, that's going to be concentrated towards photography a little bit. But when I have a new patient exam coming in, or a normal exam, actually, to be honest with you, I have a preclinical interview courtesy of Pankey's Institute. They have driven this into my skull, and I couldn't thank the Pankey's Institute enough for this, because they've taught me how to become a dentist, how to build a life through dentistry rather than just do it as a job. So that's very key, and we'll talk about that on Wednesday. But after the patient come in, after I have a preclinical interview with them, the first thing, I've made the space. Okay, I've made a space, a room, a small room, and turned it into a studio with my studio flashlights. But if you don't have that, that's completely fine. Not a lot of people do, okay? You can take them to your room. But for the love of God, get them to sit down in a normal chair, not the dental chair. Last thing that patient wants is just be dumped on a dental chair straight away. So get them to sit on a normal chair. This is where I take pictures. And this is where my secret comes in. I don't take the pictures. I've taught my nurse to take the pictures. And what my nurse does, she takes those pictures, and then once I've had a chat, nurse has done the pictures, I get him in for charting just as I'm looking around the teeth, not even shouting out the charts. I'm not shouting out the BPEs. As I'm just looking around, because I need to look to see what I'm working with. As I'm looking around, my patient has actually uploaded my photos on a TV that I have in my room. So they, believe it or not, we took pictures, the patient is just laid down, I'm just having a look, without the patient being aware, the photos are on the TV, already uploaded, and this is my secret. It shows organization, it shows that you go one step ahead above any other dentist does, and you help them. Now we record the chart, we record the BPE, and we then take him for the x-rays. Okay, but as the patient sits up, first thing they notice is this TV with pictures of teeth. And 9 out of 10 always ask, are those my pictures? And I always say, yes, it is. But don't be nosy. And I'm very, very friendly with my patients. I say, well, don't be nosy. We're going to go for some x-rays first. And then once the x-rays are done, I'm going to show you the pictures. I'm going to cross-reference them with your x-rays. And then we can present them. Presentation is key. In the patient journey webinar, I'm going to tell you how to present, how the system that I've written, the form, you can call it a formula, but it's more of a system, a how-to, a 1, 2, 3, 4 system that you can follow one by one, tick off as you go along to cover all the aspects. This builds value. This builds trust, and this shows that you are that dentist who went one step ahead. And guess what? None of that was available and doable without photography, without having the right equipment, without having the right settings, without having the habits of taking them and training your nurses. I have a couple of colleagues who asked if the nurses could see this webinar. To you, I say, welcome, and I hope you are taking away some important things from here. But the nurses, please remember these settings, and also what I'm going to show you next, which is the positionings, okay? But after you've done a presentation to the patient, finalizing this is the most important bit. The key is presentation. Finalizing is making sure the patient saw an amazing dentist and knows how to talk about it. Now, this was just for examination. This is for a treatment, because it's a different kind of appointment, right? A little bit. In the treatment appointment, my patients do come in. I still have a mini pre-clinical interview. It's all about getting to know your patients as a human rather than just a set of teeth. Then again, I go to the photo studio. Okay, I take pictures before I start. Then I do the treatment. Mid-treatment photos. Secret number 1. Please, for the love of God, okay, allow your nurse to take the pictures for you. Okay, again, this is my secret weapon. My nurse, my assistant is my secret weapon. And the final photos, okay? So before you start, then you do the treatment in the room, there's pictures, and then you take the final shots in the studio. If you don't have that, that's fine. You can take the clinical photos, the pre-treatment photos in the room. Nurse does that. You do the treatment, then you take the mid photos, then the final ups. You say goodbye. And secret number 2. Robbie Hughes covered this, and I can't thank that dude enough because he's very much switched on, and I hope everyone listened to that. If not, please have a chat with him about this. But secret number 2, which I've always been doing, and I advocate everyone to do, is to make sure that within half an hour or within an hour, as the patient leaves, you send them the pictures of before and after. Okay? Now, if you say, what if it doesn't go right? I get that, fine. I'll leave that to your judgment. But what I do with the pictures, here is another secret number 2. When the pictures are uploaded, there are loads of free collage makers on, if you Google them on Google Chrome. Take the pictures, upload them on a collage, have it before and after. Okay, it takes 30 seconds. And you can email that to the patient from your computers there and then if you wanted to. You can email them to your patients, okay, with a message of, thank you for coming to see me today. I work really hard on your teeth, and I appreciate if you have a look at these pictures. Feel free to show your siblings or wives or your spouse or your family members. That's the key. Giving them what you've done, telling them you worked hard, because imagine how much more they appreciate you. They're like, because they can't see it. They can't see the result. You show them a picture and said, this was your tooth before. This is what I found underneath. If you don't want to do that, I don't do that. I don't like that. I just do it before and after. But I say on the email, I've got a template email. I say, I worked really hard on your teeth today, and I appreciate if you have a look and to see the results that we achieved. I think it's a great result. And feel free to talk about it with your family members. I always drop that in there because it gets them involved. It shows them you are so honest and transparent. Right, one more tip. Consistency is key. To be consistent, take your pictures sat up. Because if you smile, laid back down, I promise you, your lip's going to come further up. Get the patient to sit up. So when they come into your room, take the pictures sat up on a normal chair or a dental chair. When you're doing treatment, sit the patient up, take the pictures, and then lay them back down. After treatment, sit the patient up, then take pictures. Please, please, please get into the habit of making the effort, because otherwise you're not going to do this. You do this, you get consistency. Why have I wrote 60 seconds? On the courses that I teach on dentinal tubules and all the study clubs that I ran in London, in Newcastle, in Sheffield, in Leeds, I've shown everyone physically, and there's a video actually. I'll try to get it from my colleague. When I taught this for a study group for the Invisalign diploma cohort of my actual cohort. I taught this down in London. There's a video showing how I took all the 12 pictures in 60 seconds. And with practice, you need 60 seconds. That's all you need. Okay? The only thing that you need is practice. You practice it, and in 60 seconds, you can take all those pictures. Now, I'm sure everyone wants to know about these artistic shots. How to take artistic shots. Before we do that, you need to learn how to experiment with light. Here's the difference. On the left, you can see a ring flash, head on. Light hits the tooth, bounces back. Middle one is a ring flash with a unilateral bouncer. What does that mean? You hold the ring flash to one side of the face, and you hold a white piece of paper to the other side. gives a bit more texture for people who want to be a bit more artistic. But really, it doesn't have, it's just for pictures. It's not, there's no clinical benefit to it. And then on the right-hand side, that's the twin flash with bounces or with softness, okay? So compare the left and the right, you can see it's much more softer on the right-hand side. It's much more natural. It's the same patient, by the way. That's before, and then I did a picture afterwards. We just did some Invisalign, some whitening, and a bit of bonding. But people want to know this. Every time I do courses, people want to know, right, Sia, how do I take this? How do I go ahead and take that? And how do I get this picture? This was done with the ring flash. This was not done with, you can take this, if you have your ring flash with you, you can do this now. This was done with the ring flash and not a studio strobe, so you don't have to worry about that whatsoever. How to take this picture? Very simple. Take the ring flash, the front flash bit of it off your camera. Excuse me, sorry. This is also the same teeth, but we put some lipstick on and we inverted it. But again, this kind of pictures, this is how you do it. That circle is a patient's head. The camera and ring flash, I beg your pardon, that should be a 90-degree angle, not a 45-degree angle. It should be at a 90-degree angle, meaning that you position the camera on the side of a face, side of a teeth, okay? You zoom in on a magnification that you want to what you can see within the actual lens itself. You take the ring flash off and you hold it pointing to the teeth at a 90-degree angle. Excuse the 45 degrees, it's a typo, at a 90-degree angle. That's how you get that picture, okay? I'm going to go back. You can see it's very sharp on the teeth, okay? To take this kind of picture, okay, for the befores and afters cosmetic bonding, you need to have studio strobe lights. Studio strobe lights are separate, and I want you to hold them at a 45-degree angle to the patient's face, okay? But make sure that the actual lights are similar distance far away from the patient, same distance away. Set them down and put an X on the floor. By doing the X on the floor, you know exactly where to keep your lights. So if you've moved, you can put it back on there. But make sure it's the same distance and the same angle away from the face. The beautiful thing about the studio strobe lights, it comes with a synchronizer, meaning you don't need the bulky little flash pad on the top of the DSLR. It's a very small little light instrument, so it's not heavy. This is the important bits. How to create this kind of pictures with your crowns or your teeth or your composites if you've made veneers or whatever, or take pictures like this, okay, or like this. This is how. The object, tooth, mouth, crown, veneer. Notice how the pictures here are much more softer. Notice how the composites on these are much more softer. How the light hits these much more softer, okay? Reason for that is we're using a studio strobe with a balancer or a softener, and that's the 90 degrees to the tooth. And your camera is also 90 degrees to the tooth, okay? Or the veneer, or the mouth, or the lab work. By doing that, you create the light that hits on one side and a shadow on the other side. What that does is it creates the artistic shot. So have fun with this. How about this one? How do I create this? Okay, this was just for fun. Okay, I don't do dentures anymore. As fun as they were, I've not focused on that. But to take that picture, if you see the white background, that's because the flash is directly, or the studio strobe is directly behind the dentures or the veneer if you want to hold, or a crown. So make sure if the light is directly behind, you get that white background. This is just for fun. These are just things you can do for fun to kind of keep the to keep yourself occupied in these times if you wanted to. Right, communicating values for your patients. I will try to wrap it up very quickly. Okay, not so quickly, but I try to wrap it up as much as I can. Okay, we're reaching the 1 hour mark very soon, so I appreciate everyone watching. But I think it's important as dentists we'll learn how to communicate and create value for your patients. The key to communicating value for your patients are these. These are my secrets. Systemize your presentation. This comes under our webinar of creating the patient journey, the most ideal patient journey. You need to systemize your presentation. What works for me actually works for a lot of people, so you can go ahead and use that. But what works for me may not be up to your taste, and you can change that. But it doesn't matter if you change it. Make sure it's written down step by step and you follow in it. By that, you create an order. When you create an order, you can then present your problems through micro problem presentation and then a macro problem presentation. And then you can go into the 2-point delivery. I will explain this more in detail on Wednesday, okay, when it comes to creating the patient journey, all right? But just let me give you a little golden nugget. Systemizing your presentation. I've created a system from the moment the patient walks in, from the things we say to them, from the things that my receptionist says to them, from the things that my dental nurse or dental assistant says to them, from the things I say to them, from the way we do everything. I've created a system. So every single time, everyone gets the same treatment, like the same kind of steps. And it shows them how well and organized this is. And through that, the order is created. We create an order of priority. What's our priority of the day? What's our priority with this patient? What's the priority of the appointment? And we hit those with our system. And then we do a micro problem presentation when it comes to taking pictures and actually presenting it to the patient. I've broken these micro down, okay, into 4 or 5 areas that I talk about with the teeth in front of the patient on the pictures, and the patient gets to understand what really you're talking about. And I've created, again, not much of a script, but the way you should say these things. And then the next thing is, we then move on to macro problem presentation. Is how to tie in all the micro, all these small problems into a bigger, more overall picture of what we can do. And that creates a 2-point delivery. This 2-point delivery has proven helpful for my colleagues at the practice I work at, has proven helpful for those who I've shared this with. And they've said that actually the patient understood it more. The patient felt like the dentist had so much better grasp. The patient had the understanding that the dentist actually is looking out for them, and the patient acceptance, actually, the case acceptance, it went quite fairly up. So it's very important you get the communicating your value. It's very important you get this correctly. Don't forget the consent form. Do not forget a consent form, because a lot of people are getting caught out nowadays for not having this consent form. This consent form is there to cover your back, to make sure the patient is well looked after. And it all ties in with how you do things, okay? It all ties in. On the consent form, you don't need to worry about the patient saying, oh, I'm not happy with this, happy with that. Make it very clean and very, very simple to read. Don't try to add fancy words so the patient won't read it and sign it. I've seen people do that. Make it very, very, very simple. When I get a chance, if you wanted to, I can also send you out the copy of my consent form that I have. It's very, very, very simple. Now, people ask me, do I have consent form for Instagram? That's a huge question. And the way I'm going to answer that is that I am friends with my clients. They know it's going to go on Instagram. They follow me on Instagram. And if they have any problems, they'll let me know, and I would take them down. But to this very day, I've not had anybody object to that. So that's that Instagram stuff. I do have their consent. Because for whoever's met me, they know I'm quite upbeat and outgoing. So I do always talk to them. I always say, this is going on Instagram, this is going on Instagram. And they're always happy. And they actually tag their friends in it. This brings me back to the secret number 2. Give the patient the pictures. Even if it's on Instagram, tag them in it. If they're on there, tag them in it, because you give them value. You give them that special attention that other dentists don't. And that way you can actually create much more, you can create a better patient journey that side. But just to quickly sum things up, on here, there's basic settings. On here, there's a little bit more advanced settings. On here, we also covered some of the positions, okay? But the one thing I didn't talk about was that how do you get your occlusal shots? Occlusal shots are hard for me to explain, okay, without showing you in person, but my occlusal shots are done in the chair, okay? And how it works is this. My dental nurse, dental assistant, she takes all the pictures, the patient sits down, then we take the occlusal shots, and that's it. That's how I create the 60 seconds. Believe it or not, it takes around possibly, I'll say 30 seconds to get all the shots except the occlusals, and then the last few seconds is for the occlusal shots. Okay, so that's the only thing that I forgot to mention. Communicating them to your patients, systemize it. Whatever you're going to start, whether you're going to start in the bottom left or top right and go tooth by tooth through the whole mouth, systemize it so every patient gets the same thing. Now, one last thing before we go ahead. One last thing before we open up for the questions. Okay, if you have any questions that you want to let me know, I'll give you my details in a second. But creating the best patient journey, by the way, this is going to happen on Wednesday, same time. I'm definitely not going to have any issues with connection now because I've sorted it out. But we're going to talk to you about how to create the best patient journey. Why dentists and clinicians struggle, while many clinics struggle, how to turn your brand and clinic into a unique experience, and how to create the best patient journey there. So if you need anything, you can always get in touch with me through Facebook, Instagram, at Dr. C. Lord, or on the email. But before you ask me questions, before I open up the floor for questions, please let me tell you one thing. When it comes to taking up photography and actually doing a dental chair, so many of you may be an NHS dentist. For my American colleagues that are in the States, it's kind of, not exactly, but it's kind of equivalent to working with lower insurance companies, okay? You might think to yourself, the more I work, if I don't waste time, I make more money. That's absolutely true. NHS, the same thing. They call them the NHS or the UDA, Unit of Dental Activity, bashers. The more you bash, the more money you make. I get that. I was in the NHS for 6 months shortly after graduating, after finishing my foundation dentist year. But after 6 months, I went full private. And the reason why I did that is all thanks to photography. It's thanks to photography and learning how to communicate with the patients. As an NHS, okay, I set aside 5 minutes extra to my appointments. Over a long period of time, that's a lot of time. But anyone who I talk to, and I've talked to some foundation dentists, which with my help actually managed to just go to the private world pretty soon after they graduated, was that they took my advice on these pictures. They took my advice of adding 5 minutes to your patient appointment so you can take pictures. Add 5 minutes. You take 15 minutes for a filling, 20 minutes for a filling. 2 hours for, some comes to bonding at the front, 2 hours and 5 minutes, okay? Veneers, definitely make time for pictures. You need those. Anything, just make the time for them, okay? That way you can help yourself out and break away from that side of things and go to private. So, shall we say, let's see, 5-10 minutes for questions? Fire them away. I'll have the chat is live, so please go ahead and fire away, and if there's anything I can help you with. Otherwise, the link will be sent out for the webinar for Wednesday, and if there's anything I can help with, obviously, let me know. But I'm open for questions. I'll just wait for them to come through. Right. Any recommended photo collage software? Right. So I'm going to start with that question first, and let me just see if this is let's see. Let me go back. I'm going to start on that question, and then we're going to go for any recommended collage app. Yeah, I honestly, if it's on your phone, you can use the app's called Pixlr, Pixlr. That's a nice app. But there's plenty of apps out there. It doesn't matter for the collage app. They're all free. If you don't want to download it on your phone, and if you have your DSLR camera and SD card clicked into your computer, just go on to any online and it'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so you can use that. I'm trying not to lose all the questions. Let's see where we are. So my name here is Friendly Newbie. That's okay. That's great. Send a copy of consent form. Of course, like I said, I can. I'm going back to the office on Wednesday morning, okay, to just get a few admin things sorted by myself. Don't worry, social distancing. But I'll get a copy of it and I'll send them across. You'll receive an email. After this, you will receive an automatic email soon, and it will tell you about the settings, and it will talk to you about the list of where you can go to get this, get these equipments. But I'll try to get that into you as well. Can you? Yes, consent form. Much obliged. How do you register for the webinar on Wednesday? Thank you very much. Again, another automatic thing is going to go out, okay, and it's going to give you a link, and you can again register for it. It'll be Wednesday at 6 p.m. You'll get a link for it, and you can register, and you'll be enrolled onto that. Okay, and I promise you, we're not going to have we're not going to go and have this technical problem we had today. Right. Sia, great presentation. Thank you very much. Do you use Digital Smile software? I used to use the DSD software. I used to use that, but me being the limitless kind of person without the pill, I like to do the Digital Smile design myself. So I do it in 2 steps or 2 ways. One, I do a quick mock-up. So I have an iPad at work. So when I take a picture, when it comes to treatment planning or when it comes to showing the patient ideally what the teeth, I could, if they're especially if they're interested in cosmetic treatment, what I do at this point is I have an iPad and I draw with the iPad pen. So that's a part of the very quick mock-up. Otherwise, I've learned how to use Photoshop, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube that you can use to help yourself creating the bit of a digital smile design to give the patient an idea of what it could look like. Honestly, you can do a DSD now in about 10-15 minutes, if that. Last but not least, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Invisalign has a SmileView app. Use that. They pretty much just put DSD into an automated thing, and it takes 60 seconds. Sometimes it doesn't come out great, but if you use studio strobe lights, it actually comes out great. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, do it manually. So I use those. Let's see. What do you use your black contrasters? What do you use for a black contraster when photographing lab work? So mine again is for mine is done by Smile Italiano. Okay, so it's a black contraster. If you literally Google it, it's just put dental photography contrasters or black dental contrasters. It'll be on Amazon. You can use those, and I use them when smiling, cheek retracted, smiling, isolating a tooth. It just helps see the edges in the background. Okay. How do you catalog your photos? Right. Do you mean on the actual terabyte? On the hard drive or on the Instagram? Because if it's on the hard drive, okay, what I do, essentially, I have patients' names as folder, okay? Patient's names folder. By the way, my hard drive does not leave the practice. It stays in there. Patient's name as a folder, and then in the folder, there's a before, and middle, and after folder. So these pictures get sent in there, okay? But to subcategorize them, I honestly put them down because my niche now is Invisalign, cosmetics, composite bonding, veneers. Mine are about 4 categories. Okay, you can categorize them in crown work. You can categorize them in bridge work. You can categorize them. Have folders in cosmetic bonding, Invisalign, or even teeth straightening can have different things in there. But that's how I do them. But I remember there's an app now called Dental Notebook. I think that it helps you categorize it a little bit more. Basically what it does is you can create tags. However, if you have got a MacBook or an iMac, remember you can actually tag your pictures by 2-finger clicking and tag them with a certain color, or you can create a color for, say, cosmetic bonding. So when you search for cosmetic bonding, all those photos come up. So there's that you can do as well. When it comes to Instagram, come to see me on Friday when I tell you how to run your Instagram and I tell you how to catalog that on your Instagram so it's easy on the eye. Okay. How long do you spend on the new patient examination? Break down a minute if possible. Thank you for that question. That will be explained in advance on Wednesday, and I'll tell you how long I spend on my patient examination, the new patient examination. I can only put my ISA to 200 on my Nikon D90. That's absolutely fine. As long as you have the rest of those sorted, I promise you, ISO 200, you'll still be absolutely okay. Okay? Your pictures are not going to come out terrible. They'll come out just nice. Don't worry about that. If you really, really, really want to get I love your name, by the way, Wandering Creature. If you really, really want to get that to ISO 200, you can sell yours, your D90, and then get another DSLR. Great presentation. You mentioned the F values are different when you're using the style. Okay, thank you for asking that question. Almost forgot. If you're using the studio strobe lights, you just need the highest f-stop. That's all you need. My f-stop is 32 and it doesn't change. Always 32 and it doesn't change. Because enough light, and the light is powerful enough, even at that high f focal stop, it still captures all the lights. Okay, so the highest focus that you can get f-stop if you have studio strobe lights. How do you best take photos of lab works? Right. There is no right and wrong answer for that. Just make sure it's systemized. I am a bit of a weird artistic freak, so I like to hold them between my fingers or put them apart of my hand and stretch my hands on a glove, blue glove. But honestly, if you want for example, just for patient data backup, make sure you just lay them flat. Okay, lay them flat. You can take a occlusal shot on its own on the lab work, and then picture of the internal if you wanted to. Never actually had to have any of those. I only do it for artistic values and for the pictures of the actual, if I'm cementing veneers and stuff, or bonding veneers, or cementing them, or crowns or bridge work. The patient knows what it was before when it went in their mouths. So there's that. On your ring flash, do you change the level of the flash settings to different IO/EO views? My honest opinion, okay, if you have ring, twin, or studio strobe, flash settings, okay, make sure it's on manual mode and it's on 1.2. That's a half a power. Half a power is more than enough to create bright enough. Honestly, over the years, I even found out that 1 to 4 on your manual flash settings, go on manual, put 1.4, okay, so make sure it's a quarter of a power. It's still great. It's absolutely great, and it saves a lot of battery power. So my recommendation is make sure it's on manual because you want it to be consistent amount of flash every time. On ETTL, it automizes it to the battery level. So your first ETTL flash is going to be much brighter and powerful than your 10th one because it takes an average of the battery power that it has. Flash settings are manual 1/4, quarter of a power. What software do you use to store your photos and organize them? Again, I don't. I made a habit of making folders, but you can use Dental Notebook. I'm much more of having control over things, so I do it myself. You recommend owl brackets and which type? Absolutely. I do recommend owl bracket, and in a document that I'm going to send out, there'll be a link to it, okay, to the owl bracket that I recommend. Basically, if you don't have the owl brackets, okay, you're not going to get the angles that are demonstrated on the diagram. You're not going to get the angle. So definitely, it's worth investing. I know it's a little bit of money, but it's worth investing. Thank you for your presentation. I have to find a twin flash control shots. I sometimes end up with shadows at peripheral end when they are close to the lens and ring flash does. Yeah, so when it comes to intraorals, okay, it's about at which angle your twin flashes are hitting it. If your twin flashes are directly pointed to a point to the mouth without any angles of them, so I'm talking like head on, even with twin flash, you are not gonna go get the shadowing, okay? But if you tilt them inwards for artistic shots, or soften shots, those are for anteriors only. So if you're taking anterior pictures, make sure your twin flashes are pointing inward. But if it is for just intraoral shots, you can just make sure they're head on. That way you avoid getting peripheral shadowing. What software do you use to edit and watermark your photos? Again, either Photoshop, just to drop your watermark on there, or you can use PXLR. Okay, that's an app. Photoshop's on my computer. Pixlr is an app that I use on my phone if I need to. You mentioned that owl, but didn't get discussed. Absolutely. Again, I'm going to send you a link to it. Owl bracket, all it does is holds your twin flash in the 45-degree angle that you need to have it set up as. When I send the link to it, you'll get a breakdown of that. Thank you for the very well. That's some great tips. Just wondering, with Insta stories, etc., do you do them on a practice phone, or are we okay to do kind of stuff on my own? I do it all on my own phone, just to start with, but I will cover all these. Okay. How do you arrange, label your photos? Pre-preference. Okay. I will tell you all these on Friday when it comes to running the how to run your Instagram account, how to categorize them, and how to present them. Okay. I'll talk about Insta stories, talk about marketing on there, competitions, etc. All those things that we do and how we engage people. What did I look for? Smile planning. I talked about that. Is iFi SD cards worth it? Okay, so these are Wi-Fi. I think you meant Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi SD cards, I did have them. They tend to crash a lot. It is worth it if you don't mind just keep spending them when they crash. I honestly had 3 or 4 of them, and then I just fell fed up, so I just went back to normal SD card. But it takes a few seconds to drag it from SD card. When you teach a nurse or yourself how to do it, it takes a few seconds, so I don't use Wi-Fi anymore. What's your workflow for taking pictures and uploading on Instagram? That will be covered on Friday. If I don't have ISO 100 when you go, oh no, we already had that. Change the settings, my Canon on, with this black. Change the settings on my 200D with, so guest 88-27740. You change the settings on your Canon 200D with 18 to 55 millimeters, okay? If you want to send me an email, breakdown of what ring flash you have or what flash you have, what lens you have, and I can talk to you about that more in advance, okay? But you want to make sure all the settings are correct, and if it's coming black, the chances are that it's, again, 2. There's not enough flash being emitted, or if it's not synchronizing well, okay? But I can talk to you more about that. If you send me an email, I can sort that out for you. There we go. How do you transfer pictures? Talks about that. Hard drive, yeah. You did not talk about a magnification, what you use in a macro lens. So, yeah, essentially on the little, I don't know if you realized there was on, I'll try to go back, excuse me. Almost there. On this slide, you can see that actually underneath these, I'm going to send this out as well. Underneath them, it talks to you about the magnifications. There's the infinity, or the zoom out as much as you can for the face. For the anteriors, the magnification of 1 to 3 is good. When do I use a magnification of 1 to 1? If I'm doing central incisors and I'm taking a picture of the stump and I'm taking a picture of the adjacent tooth. For new dentists with limited budget, how would you recommend the ring of twin flash as first investment? Great question. I believe my first DSLR camera cost £300. I believe actually £250 on its own. My macro lens was the most expensive, which was £350, but my ring flash was £100. So overall, I think I got everything together for about £700, and very quickly made a lot of case conversions, which then allowed me to get everything else. So on a limited budget, you're still going to splash out a little bit, maybe get a second-hand DSLR body, but on your lens, get a brand new lens, and the flash and a ring flash, you don't need to spend on a leg. It costs about £100. The link will get sent out. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Let's see. What are the 3 cheapest twin flashes? Again, there's a K&F Concept twin flash. You can have a look into that, but there is, I believe it's called There's a link on the file I'm going to send out. Yokonoma. I'll send the link out, but that's the cheapest one. It's about £110 for a ring flash, for a twin flash as well. Thank you for the comprehensive presentation. Which lubes would you recommend and what magnification do you use? Okay, this is not the lubes talk, but I've got a 3 times magnification loop and I have a 5 times magnification loops, but that's not a photography talk. So I use them. I hope that helps. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. If there's anything else I can help you with, please get in contact with me. You will get a link for the next webinar, which will be up and running for Wednesday, 6 p.m., talking about how to create the best patient journey, as you can see there. If there's anything else I can help you with, let me know. And any more questions? Otherwise, have a lovely journey. Oh, sorry, some came up. Tamron lenses. So no problem. Thank you, guys. Thank you. The next one will be out the link to the next one will be out shortly. And last question, I'm going to take that one. What do you think about the brand Tamron macro lens? Again, just as good. Absolutely fantastic. You can use Tamron and you won't have any problems with it whatsoever. Okay. I like to make sure it's Canon because I want a compatibility, but Tamron also works. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. I know you gave me an hour and a half of your time. But the next presentation on Wednesday, I'll talk to you about how you can convert and communicate and build value, and actually how you can build a life through dentistry. For anyone who listens from the States, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if there's anything I can do, let me know. And I do live lectures in person, absolutely. We are actually going to be running we had it planned for April time, but we were going to do a photography course and live communication course all joined together because I believe they're joint. But don't worry, we have your email, so when we reschedule them, there's going to be one in Manchester, one in London, and one in Newcastle. And if you wanted to hear me talk in person and give you some more tips on how to run your photography game to optimize it, I'm more than happy to share that with you guys. And there will be some courses out there. But right now, it's all about, I'm not here to sell anything. I'm here to tell you what you can do. So today, everything I told you is free of charge. And believe me when I tell you, it's about helping each other during this time. Right, I really have to go. So thank you very much, guys. I'll see you very soon. If there's anything I can help you with, absolute fantastic. I'm more than happy. Let me know.